Welcome to 5% Radio, where it's all about learning like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. Please be sure to share and subscribe. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the 5% Radio podcast. Good to have you, 5%ers. Today we are going to be talking about greenbacks, simoleons, cash, dough, money. We're going to be talking about 10 principles of financial management, and I actually got these principles from a talk given by a leadership expert and businessman worth, I believe, over $100 million and has done very, very, very well financially. New York Times bestselling author many times over, speaks all over the world, and this guy's stuff is tested and proven, and this is actually a lot of the stuff that my wife and I personally applied in our lives to get out of debt and get our financial house in order. But before I actually get into the episode itself, I do want to go over the weekly win or weekly shout out, and this comes from Orrin in Ohio, and here's what he said. He said, also loving the podcast. I know I said it before, but I just wanted to let you know again how much it has helped. Keeps me motivated per se. I have kept TFAR, which is episode 1, as a staple of my life since it was mentioned. I had my 13-year-old daughter who is autistic and has ADHD, and she also struggles in school with bullying, and I pointed out your episode talking to her about TFAR, and she has fully adopted it. She has been able to regulate herself, building on that. It has helped her circumvent the issue that is based on that very strategy. The last few weeks, after having a conversation with her, she made the determination what is worth her energy and what is not. Also, what is worth her emotions and what is not. So that was really cool to have a friend reach out to me about, hey, look, this episode not only helped me and I've been using it, but I also had my kid either listen to it or just explain the concepts from the episode, and it's really helped her. So again, I started the show to help change people's lives and give them better information. So a little plug here, if you've not shared the show and one of the episodes has helped you, please do share the show. So before we actually get into the 10 principles of financial management, again, these are not my principles. I did not create these. I got these from a talk given by a leadership you can call him a leadership guru, but he doesn't really prefer that term from the talks that I've heard him give. But he is the number 19 leadership expert in the world. According to Inc. magazine, there's 50 leadership experts in the world that they ranked, and he is number 19. Currently, I think he should be a lot higher than that, but the guy's stuff is just absolutely phenomenal. So I do reference his material quite a bit in this show. So before we get into it, though, I want to throw out a disclaimer so everyone feels appropriately disclaimed. I'm not a financial advisor. You guys know this, and I'm not looking to give financial advice. I'm simply passing along information from the sources that I have studied from. So this is not meant to be specific advice or financial counsel for every situation that you're just supposed to take and copy and paste into your life. These are general principles. They are great principles, but if you're looking for specific customized advice or counsel on your personal finances, then you need to actually go to someone that you trust that has the fruit on the tree financially. So hopefully everyone feels disclaimed by my disclaimer, but let's go ahead and jump into it and start off with number 1. The first principle for financial management, according to Orrin Woodward in this talk that he gave, was know what you make net. So the difference between gross and net is gross is what you tell your friends and net is what you tell your wife. So gross is what you make pre-tax. So if someone says, I make, $120K a year, that's pre-tax. So after tax, the number is going to be significantly different. So know what you make net. Okay, well, how do I actually know what I make net? Well, there's 2 ways to do this. Number 1, just keep your paycheck stubs or go back in your bank and see what you actually made. But track out and write out all sources of income. Anything that is consistent in your life, track that out. So if you have an expense on a regular basis, and you have, or not an expense, if you have an income source on a regular basis, I don't care if it's big or if it's small, if it's a couple bucks or if it's a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 or $10,000 a month, if you make it on a consistent basis, whether it's from your job, your spouse's job, one of your kids paying you for, for a portion of rent or something else, I don't care what it is, where it comes from. If it is regular income, track it out and know what you make net. Know what you make after tax. After everything is said and done, you've paid all your taxes, everything's automatically come out. Know what you actually make. Know what you actually make per pay period, know what you actually make per month, and also know what you actually make per year. Now, that being said, do not include if-come money. What is if come? I've never heard of this. If come money is if I do this and if I close this sale and if I get this raise at work and if I'm able to get this going right in the company and if we're able to land that client and if I'm able to close this contract this weekend with this company, if I'm able to do that, then we're going to make this, and based on that, I can spend. That's called if come money. If it comes, I'm going to have it. So make sure that you're not including quote unquote if come money in your net income. Okay, so that's principle number 1. Know what you make net. Principle number 2 is know all of your expenses. This means all, not most, not just about all, not that sounds like it should be most of them. Know all of your expenses, even things that only come up sporadically, meaning changing the tires, oil changes. Maybe if you're like my wife and I, we pay our insurance in like 6-month chunks. I don't know if all companies do that, but the company that we're through, which I believe is State Farm. Little side note, if you're an insurance salesman and you have, the world's greatest car insurance and you think that State Farm is terrible, please don't reach out to me. It's not a big deal. That's just who we use. But know all of your expenses. So whether it's something consistent or sporadic, if it happens more than, once a year or at least once a year, you need to know what that expense is so you can actually make room for it. So track this out in a spreadsheet. Now, just going to call out the obvious. Is that exciting? No. Are most of these principles exciting? Not necessarily. Is this going to be something possibly that could offend some listeners because I'm just going to shoot you straight and tell you exactly what this guy told the audience that day? Absolutely. Some of you are not going to be super pumped after you get done with this episode. Some of you will not agree, but I just want you to know this guy has done super, super, super well financially, and he's also helped a lot of other people do super, super well financially. So you can take it or leave it. You can like it or lump it, but I am giving you what I got out of this talk. So know all of your expenses, even if they're things that only come up sporadically. Track them out. Put them in a spreadsheet. If you have, this is important here. If you have less coming in than what is going out, you're going broke. If you have less coming in than what is going out after you've tracked out how much you make and how much you spend every month, if you have less coming in than what is going out, meaning I make 100% of this number and I spend 103% of that, you are on your way to going broke. It might not happen quickly, but it will happen 100% positive if you are spending more than you make. And you might say, no, I'm not going broke because I'm putting it on a credit card and we can pay the minimum. I will get into that later. But if you're spending more than you make, you are on your way to going broke. Also, if you're having a hard time after you've tracked out expenses and you're having a difficult time, okay, I know what I make, I know what we spend, but I can't hold myself to a specific number of we only spend this much. If you have a lack of self-control in that area, which again, this just comes to, the old adage, man, know thyself, or woman, know thyself. You have to know where your weaknesses are. This is totally a side note. It's a rabbit trail, but so I've done martial arts for years and years and years. So when I was about 5 to 22, I did martial arts extremely, extremely regularly, like multiple days a week with a few very, very, very short breaks of less than 6 months, but everything else was pretty much, 2 to 5+ days a week outside of practicing at home. And if I am a fighter or if I am getting in altercations on a regular basis, I need to know how to defend myself. So that means, first and foremost, I need to know what I suck at. I need to know what I'm not good at so I can know what to work on. So there's no shame in this. If you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I don't think I have the self-control to do that, but I don't want to really admit that to my spouse, or I don't want to admit that to even myself. So I'm just going to kind of keep going where I'm at, and hopefully things will work out. We can keep our head above water financially. No. If you don't have the self-control, just admit that, take a hard look in the mirror and say, you know what? This is where I'm at right now. This is my journey. This is my starting place. This is, if I'm to be honest, this is where I am at currently. That's not a big deal. That can be between you and yourself or you and your spouse, but just acknowledge I don't have the self-control to, limit my spending. So here's what you do. Give yourself an allowance, or give your spouse an agreed on allowance. So let's say that you guys pulled in $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month together. Decide, okay, every single time we get paid, you get, whatever this number is, $80, $100, it can be much smaller. My wife and I's has always been much smaller just because our budget is pretty tight. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for, unknowns. So we started off with $20 per pay period. If you want to start off with $50, $100, totally up to you. But here's the deal with the allowance. Do not argue about it, and you cannot dictate what your spouse spends it on. I don't care if you give them $100 and they went and bought $100 worth of chewing gum for the month. You can't express your opinion. I can't believe you wasted That is their allowance. Just like if I give a child, our kid's 10 months old, so he's really not getting an allowance, what's he going to spend it on? But I'm not giving our kid an allowance yet, but we will, because I need to help him learn how to actually manage money. So he'll do chores, I'll give him an allowance, that sort of thing. But when you give a child an allowance, they can spend it on whatever they want. They can save it. They can learn principles of financial management. When you give your spouse an allowance, or you agree upon it and you both give one another, hey, here's what you get, here's what I get, that is not something for you to teach them, okay, you gotta tithe this much and you gotta put this much in the bank. That is after everything else is done. This is just extra discretionary income. We have to control our spending. So I know that I can budget $100 a month that you get and that I get. That way we're not spending $300 unexpectedly. Do what you want with your 100. I'll do what I want with my 100, but it eliminates the need to argue about stupid petty stuff, because none of us come home every day and run into the kitchen and say, oh, I missed my money so much. Like, you finish working and you come home, or you clock out and you come out of the office if you work at home like I do. You're finished working with your self-employed business or whatever else. But so I finished working for my agency. I'm done doing my self-employed business for the day. I don't come out and like, oh, I need to go look at my bank account because I love my money. That's not how it is. So if money is not a super high priority, now it's right up there with oxygen. I have to have it to live. But if my family is more important, then I should not be fighting about something with my family that is less important than my family. Hopefully that made sense. I should not be fighting with my family, with my spouse, stressed out towards my kids about something that is less important than my family, my wife, my kids. So give one another an allowance and do not dictate how the other spends it. Principle number 3, get your expenses down to 75% of your net income. 75% of your net income. So if you make $4,000 a month, that means you can spend $3,000 a month. Okay, so if you make $4K a month, you could spend $3K. If you make $6K, you can spend $45K. I'm not going to keep going with math because it is late for me and I don't want to make any math faux pas. Like, oh no, he screwed it up. Like, he's not that sharp. So anyway, regardless of what you make, you can spend 75% of your net and then save 25%. Now, if you save 25% every single month, at the end of 1 year, you'll have 3 months living expenses. Now, is that a whole lot? No. But that's 3 months of all your bills, everything that you normally would spend, 3 months of it in the bank. At the end of 4 years, if you change nothing and you keep living on 75%, at the end of 4 years, you're going to have a full year of security. Meaning if everything hit the fan in your life, if you and your spouse both lost your jobs, if your company went sideways, if everything just absolutely went terrible, you have a year's worth of expense security in the bank. Meaning I can pay all my bills, we can survive for 12 months straight, because I saved 25% per month, and I did that for 4 years straight, living on 75% steady state of my net income, and I was able to put a year's worth of living expenses in the bank. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, man, 75%, there's no way we can live on that. We're paycheck to paycheck now. Just because you make it does not mean you have to spend it. I can't tell you how many people that I've seen that could probably live on less than 50% of what they make, and they just absolutely spend like crazy people. They spend so much money on stuff that does not actually matter, and then it puts them in a negative cash flow position where they get to the end of the month and they have no money. They're stressed out. They're aggravated at each other. I can't believe you spent that on this, and oh my gosh, we shouldn't have bought that this month, and the credit card payment's too high. We can't afford it. We're going to get charged late fees and this and that. We can't pay it. Like, they created so much stress by something that they didn't actually have to do. They made significantly more money than what their real bills are, but they got a confusion between what I want and what I need. Just because you made it does not mean that you have to spend it. Now, anything above 75% as far as your monthly expenses are concerned, meaning if I'm living at 80% of what I make, or 85 or 90 or 95 or 100, anything above 75%, this is according to Orrin, the guy that gave the talk, anything above 75% as far as your expenses are concerned, and you are robbing your future for your present. It might be great to have a nice car or a bigger house, take fancier vacations, wear nicer clothes, have a newer phone. It might be nice to have those things, but it's not a need. It's a want. My wife and I both drive pre-2016 vehicles. Guess what? There's no payment on them. There's nothing wrong with them. They are paid off. We don't owe a dime on them. I pay insurance. I put gas in them. I do oil changes, put tires on them. I have no other transportation fees, no other cost. It's a vehicle that I own. If something were to happen to that vehicle, I have no payments on it. I could go out and buy something else, and pay cash for it and not have to worry about having a car payment that I have to roll over onto anything else. And that's not a brag. I drive a 2012 Camry, but there's nothing wrong with my car. It has no rust. It's running like a champ. I could have a nicer vehicle. There's a vehicle that I have my eye on right now. Do I need it? Absolutely not. Do I want it? For sure. I don't have to go do that, though. We could be leasing a vehicle. I could be making payments on a brand new, 2023, whatever. I could do that, but it's just not something that I want to do because I value my future over. Remember, I did the episode on the marshmallow test. I value my long-term vision, long-term delayed gratification. I value that more than what I want right now. So make sure that you're not getting needs and wants confused. Some of you are sitting there and saying, I can't do that. I cannot live on 75%. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but that's really not true because there's someone right now with your exact same family size, with your exact same legitimate expenses. And when I say legitimate, I don't mean a bunch of car payments, a huge mortgage. I mean like the legit, like what it takes for you to survive. There's someone in your exact same situation right now living on 75% or less of what you make, doing just fine. And more than that, there's someone living on 75% of what that person makes, doing just fine. Paycheck to paycheck is still paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much you're making. I've seen people that were literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars, not per month, not per quarter, or excuse me, not per year, not per quarter, per month. I'm talking $200,000 to $300,000 a month, and they had terrible financial principles in place in their life. And you will always reap what you sow 100% of the time. The Bible talks about this. It's a principle. That's just flat out. You will reap what you sow. This person had terrible financial habits in place. You would think making $200,000 to $300,000 every 30 days would be completely fine to outrun anything else. But just like I can't work out enough to, basically get rid of the symptoms of me eating McDonald's 5 times a day, I can't work out hard enough for me not to show some signs of disease and weight gain and lack of health. This person could not outrun their poor financial habits, and even though they were making $200,000 to $300,000 a month, they went broke, lost their house, everything. Okay, so long term, 75% is a great place to start for your living expenses. So I'm saving 25%. Long term, shoot for living on 50%. Now, if you say, well, I just, I like finer things and we like expensive cars and big vacations, that's totally fine. Keep applying the principle. Live on 75 or 50% if possible. Just increase what you make. If I make $5,000 a month now and I spend, $4,000 a month and I go to making $10,000 a month and I spend $5,000 a month, I'm actually increasing my lifestyle. Now, I might make significantly more money, but technically I'm actually spending more every single month, but I'm living on less as far as an overall percentage of my net or gross income. So just keep that in mind. Long-term, shoot for 50%. We've had some months where we lived on like 30% of our income. And again, that's not living some crazy lavish lifestyle, but to be able to save 70%, and this is after you've done tithing, after you've done targeted savings, everything else, just there's 70% of what you made left over. I've already paid all my bills. I've already done my tithing, my 10% of the church that I go to, whatever you want to do. I've already done all that, and I had 70% left of that number, and I just threw that in the bank. That is a great place to be. But long-term, shoot for 50%. Steady state, meaning month in and month out, that is the average, is about 50%. Principle number 4. I'm going to lose a lot of you right here, but never finance anything that depreciates outside of your house. Never finance anything that depreciates outside of your house. This goes for cars, toys, vacations, cruises. I don't care what it is. Campers, motorcycles, I don't care. Never finance anything that depreciates. Depreciates meaning it's losing value. Never finance anything that depreciates outside of your house. And there's a lot of people that will say, well, you can make, let's say that my car payment was only 2% interest and I have an investment that I have money into and that's 5% interest. So I'm coming out 3% ahead by borrowing this money instead of pulling cash out of the bank. I get it. That sounds good on paper, but at the end of the day, I'm guaranteed, 100% guaranteed to get 2% interest back on the money that I have wrapped up in that car if I just pay the thing off. I'm guaranteed to get that money back and I'm not going to lose anything else on that. This was just the other day. If you're looking at things that depreciate, or basically things that are losing value, I had a conversation with someone and they did that exact same thing right there. Well, I have an investment that makes this much and my vehicle payment's only this much, so I'm actually coming out ahead. There's still debt. There's still a sword dangling over your head. If something goes wrong financially, your assets will feed you and your liabilities will eat you. Your assets will feed you and your liabilities will eat you, meaning if something goes wrong, I have things that are sucking cash out of my life and I have things that are putting cash into my life. If it depreciates, if it's not something that's actually going to make you money, do not finance it. And I know many people will say, well, we've worked so hard, we deserve it. And according to Orrin, here's the way if you know if you deserve something or not. And this is going to come off harsh, but here's how you know if you deserve it. If you had the money, the cash on hand in the bank, and you could actually pay for it right there on the spot, cash, one payment, and you're still able to apply every single other financial principle, meaning I'm still living on 75% or 50%, saving 25% to 50%. I'm still being frugal with my money. I have all of my income tracked out, all of my expenses tracked out. It's within my budget. I've done the allowance thing. I've done all of that. You deserve it if you have the money in the bank. You can tell yourself you deserve it. The bank can tell you, your family can tell you, oh, you guys have worked so hard, you deserve it. But if you don't have the cash for it, if you're looking at just great financial principle to follow, if you don't have the cash for it, don't go buy it. There's a lot of things that I would love to buy. I would love to buy. And I could definitely, if I could afford the payment many times over into perpetuity, like it's not a big payment, but I'm not going to do it because I don't have the cash for that thing yet to pay for it and for it not to bother me. The next car that I want, for example, is, I think it's close to $60K if I was to buy it brand new. Now, is that materialistic? No, absolutely not, because I have people that I know that are driving cars more expensive than that, making a monthly payment. Now, I'm going to wait longer, but I will buy that vehicle cash. I will walk into the dealership and I will buy that cash check, whatever they can accept. I will pay for that vehicle with the one payment plan. There's nothing materialistic about that, or thinking that you're better than because you paid cash. Oh, you're a snob. Oh, you can brag about it. No. I'm not going to do that, but I'm not going to finance the vehicle. It's a principle. It's not because I couldn't afford the payments. It's not because I want to go flash and be like, yeah, look at my car that I paid cash for. That has nothing to do with it. But if I save and pay it off one time, I have nothing tied up in that vehicle as far as interest payments. I'm not losing any extra money. I paid for it one time. It didn't hurt me because I had additional money set aside. I set a goal. I saved the money. I had other money set aside. I followed every other financial principle, and I buy the vehicle cash versus saying, you know what, I deserve it. I've worked hard for it. I want it now. I could pay for it in the future, but let's just do the payments now. That would be like me going down to the trophy store and buying a trophy that I hadn't actually won. And someone comes over to my house and they say, man, I had no clue that you were a champion table tennis player. And I'm like, no. I'm not actually. I saw the trophy in the trophy store and I wanted them to put my name on it. And I bought it. I bought it. It was $200. I brought it home and I put it on the mantle because I thought it looked cool. That's the same exact thing as someone's driving an $80,000 vehicle or a $70,000 vehicle. And they absolutely could not pay that thing off. If someone came into their life, held a gun to their head, they couldn't pay it off ever. There's no possible way they would have the cash to pay that off. But they are making the payments on it. That's the same exact thing as me going out and buying a trophy. I didn't actually do what it takes for me to earn that. And I'm not trying to be offensive here. I'm just trying to give you the thinking behind why he laid out these principles. This is actually another example that I heard one of his colleagues give with the buying a trophy. I'm not going to go out and buy a trophy for something that I didn't earn. I earned it through hard work. I'm going to deserve that vehicle when I get it cash versus making the payments on it. Now, that being said, don't say, well, I can pay cash for a $1,000 vehicle and it's something that is dangerous for your family. Be smart about this. Again, these are general principles. If you want specifics, seek someone that has fruit on the tree. I'm going to go over a few little nuggets that he gave in the talk, and then I'll go to principle number 5. As far as houses go, he said that you only need to buy a house worth twice as much as you currently make. Realtors will tell you, and the financing companies will tell you, that you can get 3 times what you make. So if you earn $100K, you can live in a $300,000 house, but that really gets you mortgaged to the gills, and you are in extremely, it's a very precarious, bad position to be in, because now you might make, a combined total of $100,000 a year, and your mortgage itself is like $1,300 a month. That is a huge chunk of your income coming out. And that's, if you make 6 figures before tax, you're really probably only bringing home somewhere closer to 6 something. So now basically a fifth of your income is now tied up in your mortgage that you're going to be paying for the next 30 years. If you buy a $150,000 house and you finance it for 30 years, you're going to end up paying close to or more than $450,000 for that house. Principle number 5 is the 24-hour rule. Never purchase anything over a certain amount without sleeping on it for 24 hours first. So he talked about basically him and his wife, and he's worth a lot of money. Okay, he's done extremely well financially. He's had several months that he made well over, and I mean well over $1 million from his primary business, from his primary cash flow source, not including his investments or anything else that he has. This is just his primary cash flow source. He's had many months where he made over $1 million. Okay, his wife and his financial 24-hour rule, we're not going to spend anything over this much money without sleeping on it for 24 hours first, is $500. Now, if the guy's worth close to or more than $100 million, and his rule is I'm not going to purchase anything if it's over $500. And I actually heard him talking about this. His wife needed a brand new phone, and she knew she needed the new phone, but they had not gone shopping for them yet. The new phone, this was, I don't know, a couple years ago, the new phone was like $800 or $900, and she needed it, okay? $800 to $900 for someone that has millions and millions and millions. This is a debt-free guy. His company's debt-free. Again, he's had several months where he made over $1 million in 1 month, not including his investments or anything else, just primary income source, okay? So think about, you make $1 million a month at your job, let's say, or with your company, and you go to buy something that's $800 to $900. Okay, he could have bought the store, okay? He'd go to buy something that's $800 or $900, and his wife went and looked for phones. They went together, and she's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll come back and get it tomorrow. Now, she could have bought it right there. Financially speaking, she definitely could have bought it. Not a problem. But the principle is the principle. So she waited, came back and got it the next day. So if his number is $500, and he's a multi-millionaire many, many, many times over, you and I's number should probably be smaller. My wife and I's number is $50. That's 1/10 of his, and I can tell you right now that I do not have a net worth that is 1/10 of his, so it's not proportionate. I'm not going to say it's apples to apples sort of thing, but that's my number. If it's over $50, I need to go sleep on that for 24 hours. Now, if I've already priced it out and I'm going to actually pick it up that day and we've already done, pros and cons and everything else, that's fine. I can go get it. I've taken the time for the principle, but the reason that you take the 24 hours is to weigh out the pros and cons of, do we need this? Is it worth it? What's the upside? What's the downside? Okay, what happens if we don't get it? What happens if we do get it? Weigh all those out, pros and cons. And then after you've taken 24 hours and done that, weighed out the pros and cons, then you can go purchase that thing. A principle is a principle. It is like a guardrail in your life. So don't just say, okay, we're going to do a $200 limit, and then you find something that's $205, and you and your wife look at each other like, it's only $5. It's not a big deal. And then a few years later, that ends up in a rummage sale or a garage sale, or someone's at your house. How many times have you had someone over, something that you bought that you just had to have? You have someone over, it does not turn out to be as great as you thought it was. Someone's at your house like, oh, that's cool. What's that? And you're like, you know what? You can have it. Something that you bought on an emotional, spur of the moment, spontaneous decision. So 24-hour rule, take one day to weigh out the pros and cons, set a dollar amount, and don't break it. It's a good principle to live by. I know it might sound crazy that someone who makes that much or who's worth that much has a $500 limit. But again, if he has that as a limit, your limit and my limit should be significantly lower. Number 6, if you can't pay off your credit card monthly, you shouldn't have one. If you cannot pay it off on a monthly basis, meaning it goes down to a zero balance, you shouldn't have one. Credit cards are a very easy way to have compound interest working against you. What is compound interest? Compound interest is like if I loan someone money and it's at 6% interest, then that means that I'm making 6% on the money that I loan them. So I'm making a positive return on my investment. I'm making positive compound interest, like a snowball rolling down a hill. I'm collecting more and more and more as I go on. The negative side of that is compound interest on the negative, meaning that I am actually losing more and more money over time as things move forward. So if I got a loan and I'm actually paying back the loan to someone else, that means that I'm not only paying the principal, meaning the dollar amount that I borrowed itself, but I'm also actually paying something additional on top of that. I was actually just looking at, we were getting our taxes together for 2022, and I looked at a loan that I took out from PayPal for my marketing agency. It was a small loan, but it was like $4,100, and I took out this loan, zero interest, and that's how they get you. They're like, oh, look, yeah, we're not going to charge you anything for 6 months. So anyway, I took out this very small loan. I'm like, no problem. Like, we'll pay it back super quick. Just needed a little bit more cash flow. Took it out. It's $4,100. Not really a big chunk of change. And I looked at, okay, if I had paid the minimum on this loan, didn't pay the minimum, but maybe like 2 months. I'm not a person that takes a long time to pay off loans. So anyway, we got this out, and it was for our business. So it was for something that we were investing into in our business. $4,100, zero interest for 6 months. If I would have paid the minimum, it would have taken 18 years to pay off. And PayPal, instead of making $4,100, which is what I agreed to borrow, I'm asking for $4,100. If I had paid the minimum, it would have taken 18 years to pay off, and they would have made $12,302 and some odd cents. That's literally 3 times. That's 3 times exactly what I actually had borrowed and agreed on. Yes, I will do this at this interest rate, blah, 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 0% interest for 6 months. If I pay the minimum, 18 years, okay? Not dissimilar to a credit card, 18 years to pay off the balance, and they would have made 3 times the amount of money. So compound interest working against you means that you have money being added onto your debt all the time. It's a snowball rolling downhill. It's a snowball rolling downhill of more money that you owe, or it's a snowball rolling downhill of your personal wealth and you're actually going in the positive. Broke people have compound interest working against them. Wealthy people have compound interest working for them in the positive. If you go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning and you are more broke than when you went to sleep, you have compound interest working against you. If you wake up in the morning and you're wealthier than when you went to bed, you have compound interest working for you. So if you're running up a credit card and your expenses are higher than your income and you're paying the minimums, you have compound interest working against you. And by the way, if you are running up a credit card every single month and you're not able to actually pay it off, that means that, again, you are 2 things, going broke, but that means also that your expenses are higher than your income. A lot of people will spend money they don't have to impress people they don't like by buying things they don't need with money they don't have. So they'll buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like with money they don't have. And it's things they don't even need. Here's the deal. Keeping up with the Joneses are broke. I knew a family, I'm not going to say their name, but they always lived this highfalutin lifestyle. They had a nice looking house and fancy cars, and their kids were always super well dressed. And I knew someone that was best friends with one of the sons. And they told me one day, oh, they're absolutely strapped. Like they are paycheck to paycheck, like leveraged to the hilt. They are so in debt, like they are basically broke, but everything on the outside looked great. Keeping up with the Joneses. We want people to think we're doing well. Don't be ashamed of where you're at. If you're where you're at, you're where you're at. I would rather you drive a vehicle that's 10 years old and be saving money like crazy than be driving a newer vehicle, be strapped, be stressed out, be arguing with your spouse. Money is one of the top reasons for divorce because people argue about it all the time. You might not look like you're doing that well. It's actually very common for people who do super well to not really look like it. And I mean a lot of people. There's no need to impress people. If you had millions and millions and millions of dollars in the bank and you never had to worry about money again, who do you need to impress? Take that mindset now. Start living that way now. I don't have to impress someone. I don't have to drive a nicer vehicle. I don't have to wear fancier clothes. I have an iPhone 8. I have an iPhone 8 and it works completely fine. The next phone that I get, I might get a little bit newer phone, but I have no problem with having an older. This is 2023. I have an iPhone 8. I have people that I know that are absolutely stressed to the max that always get the latest device, that always have the latest computer, they always have the latest smartphone, the latest tablet, the latest TV, the latest and greatest everything. They get a new lease vehicle every single year and they're stressed all the time. I'm not stressed about my finances. I have no need for a newer iPhone. I don't. I don't have to impress anyone. If they're like, "What? How old is that thing? That's a dinosaur." I don't care. It works. I can do phone calls. I can do text. I can do everything else that I need to do on it. It's not a big deal. This particular guy, Orrin Woodward, that I'm teaching these principles from, at one point had like an iPhone. I think iPhone had just come out with the iPhone 10, or maybe they were on the 11s. It was somewhere between 9, 10, 11, and he still had an iPhone 5. Like he was forced to get a new one because the software was out of date. He couldn't do some things that he actually needed to do for his business on his phone, so he was forced to get a new one. But I mean, worth $100 million plus or close to it, and he's got an iPhone 5. He didn't care. It's not a scarcity mentality. It's not, oh, he's got negative money beliefs. Look, if you're worth $100 million and you think that person has a scarcity mentality about money, you're probably barking up the wrong tree there. He just doesn't feel it's his job to steward the money. It's not his job to just go blow it on whatever he wants. Money is a gift. I should learn how to be a steward of the financial blessings that come into my life. And even if I'm not quote unquote blessed financially, which there's a whole nother argument there because we do live in the United States. We are in the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world. If you are just the average person in the United States or even a broke person in the US. But you have to understand that money is a gift. It's a blessing. It's something that you need to take care of just like your body. It's not my job to just run my body into the ground. I've been given my body to be a steward over my body. I've been given money, wealth, whether it's a ton or a little bit right now, to be a steward over it. And if you're not faithful with a little bit, you're never going to get a lot. A fool and his money are soon parted. I've heard that said. If you have terrible ability to handle money and you think, well, you know what, I'm just going to spend everything that I make, you will never get to a place where you have extra money because you're spending everything you make. Number 7, we are kind of rounding a corner, coming to a close here. Eliminate all interest debt. Meaning there's negative compound interest working against you. Something is actually adding up. So I borrowed, just like my PayPal loan, I borrowed $4,100, but there's negative interest compounding against me. Eliminate that. Interest is cancer. If the average person, the average American, knew how much of their income was going to service debt every single month, how much money is actually just going straight from their house just to service debt, not to actually pay towards the principal, not to actually pay the loan off, but literally just for the right to have the loan, just like the PayPal thing. So they would have made $8,202 and some odd cents. They would have made over $8,200 literally just to give me the loan. I pay them back the $4,100 that I borrowed, but they would have made PayPal. They would have made, and nothing's wrong with PayPal. They're a great company. I'm not bashing them. Just, it's an example that I had from my personal life recently. They would have made over $8,200 just for giving me the money. The majority of people have a ridiculous amount of money going towards servicing, not the principal, not what they actually purchased, but just the interest on that loan. Principle number 8, as you begin tracking your expenses, you know what you make, you know where your money's going, you begin living on 75%, you're doing the 24-hour rule, you're applying all of these other principles, you're going to have money left over. I had a friend of mine apply some of the financial principles from the exact program that my wife and I went through, and he ended up finding about $800 in the first month of going through the information. I'll give a little bit of a plug later for that program as I'm wrapping up the episode, but he found $800 in the first month and was able to get completely debt-free in, I think, less than a year and a half. Single guy, was making just average money, and he was able to find $800 that he was just wasting every month. Didn't even know where it was going until he tracked it out. So as you're finding all this extra money, it's time to invest in your brain. We are all worth minimum wage from the neck down. Every single person that you see physically is worth minimum wage from the neck down. Okay? The only thing that separates people that earn a lot of money and that keep a lot of money from people that earn a little bit of money and that go broke or stay broke is thinking. There's a reason that one person who has 24 hours can be worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, and someone else that also has 24 hours. Both these people make money. Both of these people have nothing wrong with them. There's no IQ that's coming into play here. They're both the same person. One's flat broke, and one has more money than he knows what to do with for the next 10 generations of his family. It all comes down to thinking. Now, if you're saying, I don't want to be materialistic, I don't want to keep worrying about money, blah, blah, blah. We all make money, so unless there's a line that you can show me where if you make anything above this line, then you are materialistic, you're evil, you're wicked, money is money. If I put a giant stack of money, just a huge stack of money in the middle of a table, and there's a room full of thousands of people, it's not going to jump off the table and go slap someone in the face or do something evil. Now, if I give a bad person that money, they will go do something terrible with it. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. To me, the love of money means that I can't control. I constantly have to go buy stuff because I have money. Oh, I can't wait to get the next penny so I can go buy something that I don't need, or I can't wait to get it because I can afford this, and that's going to satisfy this hole in my heart, this need in my soul. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, if that's where you're at with money, if you think it's going to satisfy the desires of your heart, that's not how it works. That was not its intent. There's a hole in your heart that will not be filled with money or anything else in the world. Okay, it will not be. And if you try to fill it with something that does not belong there, it will be a bottomless pit. Okay? God invented everything that we have here on earth. If you don't believe in God, different conversation. This is just where I stand, and I'm unapologetic about that. But if you are trying to fill a hole in with something that is not meant to actually fill that need, then it's always going to be empty. So the love of money is the root of all evil. If you love money, you will do crooked things just to get money. You will take advantage of people. You will use people. You will lie. You will do all kinds of terrible things just to make more money. So you can love money and use people, which is wrong, or you can use money and love people. So it's not materialistic to have money because everyone in the world uses money in some way, shape, or form. So if it were wrong or materialistic in any sense to have money, or if it's wrong for me to drive a nice car, but it's okay for you to drive your car, or it's wrong for me to live in a nice house, someone who came over here from a third world country that lives in a shack with a dirt floor would say that the crappiest house in your town is a mansion. They would say, oh, this is so nice, man. These people, they're so wealthy. They have everything. But you look at a person that might have a 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20,000 square foot home, nice vehicles. And even if they were only living on 10% of what they made, you'd be like, oh, they must be materialistic and super into money and all about wealth. But you might be living on 90% of what you make, and you live well beyond your means, and they've waited for years saving up for what they have, and they just take care of it. They've done better stewardship with their money than you have. They're not any more materialistic or any less materialistic, but what I've found is generally speaking, the people that have a lot of money and that spend their money wisely and that live on a very low percentage of their money, they're usually not really very materialistic. Because if I have a car that costs me $100,000 or $200,000 and I make $20 million a year, that's a super small percent of my income. Unlike someone that has a car that makes, the car is worth $70,000. I paid $70,000 for it and I make $60,000 per year. To me, the person that's financing themselves, putting them in an uncomfortable position just to drive a vehicle that they can look better in, they're a little bit more materialistic than a guy that says, you know what, I'll take, 1% of my income and buy a vehicle that I've wanted for years, that I've been waiting for, that I've saved up for. So that's totally a rabbit trail, but you can't say that money is evil in itself or that you're materialistic if you have a lot of it, because it's just money. It's just an object, okay? So number 8, invest in your brain. As you're getting more money, as you're finding more room in your budget, invest in your thinking. I'm not talking about going back to college. I'm not talking about getting a master's degree or finishing your degree, but invest in your thinking. I had someone come to our house one time, and I have 2 points left and I'm done. I had someone come to our house one time, and they were looking at all the books that I have, and they basically made the comment of oh my gosh, this is so much money that you guys have spent in books. That's crazy. You could have done such and such else with this money. And I've probably got, I don't know, somewhere between $1,000, maybe a little bit over $1,200 in books. Let's just say that that's a stretch. Probably right around or just under $1,000 of books. And I've not read all of them yet, but I've read most of them. But that has helped me in every area of my life. That has helped me in my relationship with my spouse. That has helped me financially. That has helped me with my mindset. It's helped me get to a place where I'm no longer depressed. I have no anxiety. I'm not a worrywart. I'm not a pessimist. It's helped me in so many areas. It's helped me in leadership. It's helped me in psychology. It's helped me understand people better so I can be more help to them with their problems that they're going through. If I were to take that same exact money, $1,000, and I would have done something else with it, there's no way I would have gotten as high of a return on what I've received in my life as I did for the money and the time investment that I put into reading those books. And as Orrin said, he's probably got $20,000 in books, and he's read thousands and thousands and probably 10,000 plus books. He reads 6 to 8 books a month. He said they can take my books, but they can't take what it's done to my thinking. So you can have an economic downturn, you can do whatever else, but people cannot take skill sets and thinking from you. Your industry may disappear, sure, but they cannot take the thinking from you, the things that you've learned that truly make you valuable in the marketplace, working for someone else or working for yourself. They cannot take that away from you. Number 9, focus on quality of life and peace of mind when you do get wealthy. So when you do come into wealth, when you do start to actually have money stacking up, and money's no longer an issue in your life, and if you begin to apply better financial principles like these, and like the ones that I'll mention in the financial program that my wife and I used and that several people that we know have used to absolutely revolutionize and turn their finances around from paycheck to, both spouses working absolutely broke, paycheck to paycheck, to one spouse coming home, one spouse working, no longer paycheck to paycheck, saving, $700 a month plus, paying cash for vehicles, paying cash for vacations, all that kind of stuff. We've seen some amazing things with this program for ourselves and other people that have gone through this program. And no, it's not Dave Ramsey. It's not Financial Peace, just heads up. But a lot of people have gone through this program, had great results. But when you do begin to build some wealth, you need to focus on your area of strength that created your wealth. So Principle number 13 in this financial program that I will give you more information on at the end of this episode is to own a business. Own a business. Have a way to have higher leverage. Episodes, I believe, 4 and 5, where I talked about the cash flow quadrant and you actually being able to get leverage on yourself. There's different kinds of ways to make money, and this was the way to get to passive income, to get to making money while you sleep sort of thing. Yes, so it was episodes 4 and 5. I wanted to check my spreadsheet really quick, but episodes 4 and 5, go back and listen to those if you've not heard those so far, but you need to own a business if you really want to create real wealth. So if you look at Michael Jordan, he was great at basketball. When he moved over into baseball, he didn't really do that well. And you'll see people do this in business, or you'll see people do this with finance. They've made a lot of money in one area. Some guy is a phenomenal salesman, and he started his own company, and he's made millions of dollars, and he thinks all of a sudden that because he's made millions in one area, he can just go start investing, and he's got the Midas touch, and everything I touch turns to gold, and I can make anything successful. And he goes and opens up restaurants, and he gets into real estate, and he starts an insurance brokerage, and he buys a car lot, and all this different stuff. And he starts investing in all this, commercial buildings, and he starts just losing money hand over fist, just bleeding cash, because he thought that he made one thing work so he can make everything work. Michael Jordan realized, I need to stick to basketball. It's what I'm best at, and he went back to it. But if he would have stuck with baseball, he would have been taking his skills that he had and being overly confident, saying, if I can do that, then I can do this. It's not the case. Keep the main thing the main thing. If you're great at something, continue investing into that area. Get as good as you can at making cash in that area. Principle number 10, wrapping up. Before I get to that, by the way, another great thing for you to think about is, how can I live today on money that I made yesterday, last week, last month, last year, a decade ago, versus living on money that I'm going to make tomorrow, or money that I made today? How can I get to living on money that I made yesterday, or in yesteryears, yesterday, a decade ago or more? When I can get there, then I'm in a really solid financial position. But principle number 10 is, when you do make a lot of money, give to the causes you believe in. Now, that's not saying that you should not do that while you're on the journey. You still should tithe. You still should give away money. You still should help people. To an extent, be wise about it. Use discernment. Pray over things before you go write someone a $30,000 check because, this would feel so good. Be smart. But when you make a lot of money, give to things you believe in. There's a lot of people that I know that have done very well financially, and some people might stick their nose up in the air and say, well, they have way too much money. That's unholy. There's something basically innately wrong about the fact that they've made that much money. But you have no clue how much that person gives to specific charities, ministries. You have no money. You have no idea how many families he's helping feed. You have no clue how many pregnancy centers he gives money to, or how many evangelists he pays for every single month, how many missionaries, whatever the causes are that are dear to you, how many orphanages, how many kids overseas that he pays there. Like Compassion International is something that my wife was doing before her and I even met. It's like $38 a month, and you are essentially paying all the kids' bills for them to go to school and get clothing and food and all that stuff. You have no clue how much money that person is giving away. So when you do make a lot of money, make sure that you actually give to the causes you believe in. So guys, that does wrap up the 10 principles of financial management. If you want more information on the exact program that my wife and I went through, we paid off over $47,000 of debt and some odd cents in about a 19-month period. We were able to put a significant chunk of change in the bank and go from both working to her coming home, me starting a business, and we were able to do a lot of that with what we learned through this financial program. If you want to learn more about that, hundreds of thousands of people have gone through that program, millions and millions and millions of dollars. Sound like Trump, billions and billions, but millions of dollars of debt have been paid off with that program. So if you really want to get your financial house in order, I will do a full walkthrough video of that. I'll put a link in the show notes for, click here to learn more about the financial program, something along those lines. But I'll put a link in the show notes, and I'll actually have a page where you can go to a video where I walk through the back end of everything that you would get if you did choose to go through that same exact program. I would recommend it. It absolutely changed our finances. Cost us like $120, and to pay off what we've paid off, and to have the financial education and understanding that we have now gained since going through that program multiple times. We still go through it on a regular basis just to listen to the audio content. So there's 3 different parts of the program. There's audio content. There is a book or an ebook or an audiobook, depending on which version of the program you buy. There's a digital program and there's a physical program like a pack you can get. But depending on what you go through, there's a book or an ebook, there's a workbook or a workbook downloadable PDF. There are some audios that you can listen to. And then there's also an entire video library of over 45 different financial principles. One of those videos might be 3 minutes long. Another one might be 15 to 20 minutes long, but they actually break down the two authors of this program that have helped tons of people not only get out of debt, but also become millionaires by starting a business. They break down step by step exactly what the principle is, what it means, how to apply it, and what it looks like for the end results of, after you've applied that principle and how much that can help you and in what ways it can change your finances. So anyway, highly recommend it. I'll talk to you guys in episode 11. Hopefully today was helpful and not too in your face, not too harsh, not too offensive. I was just sharing what was shared with me. So I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.